I don't think I had warned them that they were going to be dancing, so this is my bad. Awesome. Okay, I think we need to cool off from all of the dancing. But I am super, super excited to have this panel of what I like to think, in my perspective, like quite successful female founders. Um, we have Yeni of Flex Finance, which Ajim Capital has personally invested in. We have Damilola of Shuttlers, which I have met on a personal level in the US, I think sometime last year. Shuttlers is doing amazing. And then we have Chioma of Payhippo, which I've angel invested in 2021. All doing amazing work. I'll just let them all pretty much give a quick introduction about themselves, their company, and their story.
Hi, everyone. Um, the dance was very awkward, but we got through it. So nice to meet you. My name is Chioma. I'm a co-founder, CEO of Payhippo. Apologies for my voice. I have a bit of a cold. I've been running Payhippo with my co-founders, who are two men, since 2019. We started the business towards the end of the year and went straight into COVID year. Our business support providing financing for small to medium-sized businesses in Nigeria. I think 4 years ago, it was very common to speak to small businesses who had difficulties accessing finance through banks and existing financial institutions. And so we created a solution for that. We have supported and giving over 36,000 loans. We have expanded and we work with different organizations and businesses across the country. And recently we are also in the process of acquiring a microfinance bank so that we can support and expand more businesses across the country.
Hi, my name is Damilola Olokesusi. I'm the co-founder at Shuttlers. At Shuttlers, we provide scheduled mass transit solution for the workforce to work, for events, and for travel. We've been doing this for over since 2016. For the first 3 4 years, we were under the radar, just working until 2021 when we came out of the stealth bootstrapping mode. Happy to be here. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. All right, great. My name is Yeni Olulana. I'm the co-founder of Flex Finance. So what we do at Flex Finance, we're a spend management company and corporate cost startup. What that means is that we help businesses manage their spending efficiently. We provide the platform where you can go ahead and digitize all of these processes, your approvals, your disbursement, and you can also issue unlimited corporate cards to your businesses. I am my co-founders. We started as we're a pre-COVID business, and so far we have gone ahead to process over $100 million ARR. We have served in over 3,000 businesses, and yeah, it's been an adventure. And it's still our mission to go ahead and provide the best platform for businesses to manage spending in Africa. Thank you.
I think these women are very humble about their successes. Is it just me? You don't have to be humble. I'm sorry. We're in Nigeria. I was expecting a little bit of like bragging. Either way, the title of this panel is Moving from Survival to Success, Fundraising in 2023 and Beyond. I think if you are a startup founder in 2023, and even for us VCs, which we're going to have another panel later today chatting with VCs, it has been a challenging year just for the startup ecosystem in general. And I just wanted to like ask every single one of you, what has been your experiences? I think I had an interesting conversation with Chioma backstage where we said that probably like in 2020 and 2021, we had a lot of founders showing up and say, yeah, like we've raised 5 million and we've raised X amount of money with very little traction. And I think we're hearing very different stories in 2023. I just want to hear what has been your personal journey as we go through a challenging market, and like, how do we get out of here? Like, how do we go? Like, where do we go from here?
So our own personal experience. So we started off in 2019, and I think we started off raising from friends and family when we were a tiny business. And then we then raised pre-seed and moving on from that. I would say now in hindsight, I've been running a business for 4.5 years. There are so many things that I wish I knew now that I knew then. We raised money with traction. We were growing, we were expanding, we had the numbers, we had the vision, we had the plan, right? But one of the things that I think we kind of omitted was life happens, economies happen, things go up and down. I was sharing with her that when I started and I would sit on panels like this, it was all success stories. It was like, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. And it was just going like that until life happened, business happened like this, and then you're rebuilding. But I think it was a great wake-up call for everyone. We were very focused on revenues and on scaling, so the number of customers and things like that, that we sort of omitted looking at your profit margin, looking at your gross profit, paying attention to those unit economics for your business, and really creating a pathway for sustainability and profitability. Like actually saying, in X number of years, we want to be profitable, or in X number of years, we want to be able to cover X percentage of our operating expenses, and sort of have a real plan for what that looks like. So we've been successful in terms of fundraising. We raised equity of about $5 million, which was fantastic. We raised debt, but we haven't raised any money this year as a startup. And that's because of all the changes. So for a company, we've also had a bit of a transition. We're also adding new products. And in that phase, you really need to be head down and just building. So for us, it's been a learning journey. It's been great, exciting stories, but also now facing the realities of the market. Would we raise again? Definitely, but I think we'll do it from a very different perspective, really having our strategy and our plans for profitability like mapped out.
Okay, so my own story, 2016 when we started. First off, the pilot started in 2015. The first pilots with 150K. The plan was not really to. We didn't even understand all this venture raising investors. We just that we're just obsessed about the problem we're looking to solve for ourselves. Because at the time I was traumatized trying to use public transport, to and fro work. I needed something that I could use. So I wasn't even really thinking about, let's go and raise money before we solve this problem. It was how could we solve this problem with the little resources that we had. So after we, exhausted our small, savings, we went back to the drawing board, we went back to training, and then in 2016, we won a competition that was organized by the Office of the Vice President then, and then with 3 million naira, we started Shuttlers in 2016. So with 3 million naira, we launched the first routes in Aja to, Marina. We got somebody that could believe in us, that, loaned us their bus, because we're asset light, we don't own the vehicles on our platform. And then as we progressed, we saw that the B2C, that's selling to direct customer, we were just, spending so much money. The little 3 million naira we had was about to finish, right? And we're like, we need to, look for businesses that will pay us. And before we started thinking about that, then we learned about Lagos Angel Network. And then I had two other female co-founders then, and they just said, who are these ladies? What are you doing? You want to run a startup in the in a male-dominated industry? I'm sure they didn't believe what we're trying to do, right? And so after that experience, I removed my focus from investors and focused more on customers, and looked for customers that would pay us in advance, that we'll be able to partner with suppliers that we can, pay them when our customers also pay us. And we did that successfully for about 3 years. When we were raising, we already made the amount that we raised in revenue, right? Selling tickets. We did not raise because we wanted to raise. It was because we saw a competition that was coming into Lagos and had raised $100 million. And we knew that if they come into Lagos, there was no way we would compete. They would just literally take all our customers and give them discounts for like 3 months, and that was the end of our business, our 4-year-old business. So that was the reason why we went out to raise. And then by that time, there wasn't a lot of like back and forth, because we had traction. It was just like alignment of vision, alignment, finding the right investors to back us. And in our last raise that we closed this year, that was the toughest. I did not think that after raising that we would have like a tough raise, but I mean, we ended up closing this last round thanks to traction as well. What I would also say is that like the focus, I still told Ashim was one of our first clients, first multinational clients, business clients. My customers are my best friends compared to investors because investors will give you money, after you give you money, what's the traction? It's not grants. They're not giving you as a gift. Your customers are the ones that would ensure that you have food on the table. Everybody has, payroll. Even in this climb, they are the ones that are going to ensure that you stay in business, ensure that you have, good margins or that can sustain you. And we have customers that have stayed with us 3, 4, 5 years because of the kind of service that we deliver. And I think that being able to quickly pivot to B2B and B2B2C really helped us to sustain them. And I think that that's even our strategy going forward. Whether or not we raise in our future rounds, we're looking at how we expand our sales efforts to ensure that we meet our revenue targets, that we'll be able to cover our costs. So that's our own strategy.
I actually want to ask you a quick question before Yenny speaks. You mentioned that you guys were capable of closing your round this year, which congrats to you, girl. like, but you also mentioned that was one of the most challenging fundraise. Maybe could you elaborate a little bit on that just for the audience? And I also think we're speaking all here on a very comfortable and like, you know what I mean? And I just think for the audience also hear that they're not alone, because I think that so many of you guys that can relate that have maybe tried to fundraise this year or last year and just realize how challenging it was. And I just want to another founder to share maybe their perspective.
So because of the stage that we were in, we didn't raise a pre-seed. Even when we raised a seed, we should have been able to even raise a Series A with our traction.
And I know that.
Yeah. But we still did like a seed, then we now wanted to do a Series A, right? And it was going to be a price round. And I remember my lead investor telling me that price rounds are difficult. I'm like, how difficult will it be? How difficult will it be? Till, I got into it, and it's just like really, really, I just think it's just a mental stress of still juggling your day-to-day activities, ensuring that your business is running, and still managing the conversation with several investors, managing the legal, all the questions. It took us about maybe 9 to 10 months. I literally did not have a Christmas, and I didn't have a Christmas and a New Year. I was in meetings, my Christmas, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just ensuring that we close the round and engage with all the stakeholders, and at the same time still ensuring that we plan for the new year, the team, ensure we close the year strong. So it's just juggling all of those activities that was very mentally exhausting. I think that was really it.
I'm a two-time founder, so what that means is that I've been fundraising in Nigeria in those days when Tekabal will have a front page celebrating a 1 million naira raise. This is not a $1 million. So what I have seen is that it still boils down to what the mantra you have in YC. Make things people want, right? You can never go wrong there. Like if you hear the stories of piggy vest, the pay stack. So I have been in both times. Like this is really not different from the normal fundraising scene. In fact, I even feel we even have Africa on the map. In those days, there's no Africa on the map. Like you really don't even have access to any capital, right? And so that is why we're at Flex. It is always boiled down to, we can boil our experience down to 3 C's. So the first thing is you need to convince yourself, right? Because you need to convince others, right? Other investors to give you money. But you first need to do that work of convincing yourself, right? Put yourself in an investor's shoes, right? And ask yourself, would you invest in your idea? Now, that clarity will let you address a lot of the problems or the loopholes that will probably, communicate that anxiety energy. Because what we're trying to get you to, what I'm trying to get you to is to have that confidence when you're approaching investors. Because if you feel shaky about your idea, investors will smell it. Like they will smell it from a mile away, and it will do you no good. which is why the very first thing, the fundamentals, is that you need to first convince yourself. Would you invest in your idea? That's the first one. Then the second one, you need to create your ideal investor. You know, this behavior of everyone who slaps an investor in their head, everyone goes around it. Like I said, this is my second venture. In those days, it was this work the room, and it's an energy sapping. Because you just keep talking to so many people that you would have probably saved yourself the time if you understand the investor geography, if you understand the stage they invest in, right? Or if, the type of entrepreneurs they like to back. Which is why you need to sit down. What's your ideal investor? Because investing is not a transactional relationship, right? Where they give you money and that's it. It's a relationship. And I believe you can borrow from success relationship principles, right? I don't know if anyone has heard of the Viola Davis story in which she expended so much energy trying to find the right partner. Then one day she sat down, wrote all the stuff. I want the guy to be 6 feet, be an ex-footballer, have children, because she said she wasn't interested. And lo and behold, right, she attracted that person. Now, the very same principle, there's just something about the power of life and universe, how it just opens up to when you know what you want. That will help you sift through, right? That doesn't mean you're just going to attract that one person at once, but at least it will save you that energy. Do you want your investor to be the kind of person that's going to be hands-on? Some entrepreneurs I've met don't want the investors to be hands-on. Just give me the money and go. So those are like angels and all that stuff. But do you want a kind of investor that will probably do intros for you? You need to create your ideal investor. And thirdly, you need to learn to convince the investor. When you know your ideal investor, you need to learn how to convince them. What are they looking for, right? Not just sending generic emails and everything. Or you need to know that, okay, this particular investor, this is who I would like to have a relationship. This is who I like to work with. Because it's a lifetime relationship. Then you go ahead and learn how to go ahead and convince them. There's like a myriad of knowledge to go ahead and educate you on how to do that. So that's how I believe approaching this will increase your chances of success in any market, whether it is the cheap capital market or it's the hard capital market. Thank you.
Wow. I think Yeni came prepared. And she gave a lot of practical advice on how to really go out there and fundraise. But I think one of the things that I have mentioned is the current economic climate. Does anybody even know what is happening right now? I keep saying the economic climate. Do you guys know what I mean by that? I just wanted to make sure. In this economy, what are some practical advice? Because obviously fundraising is challenging, right? What are some practical advice you can offer startup founders and even things that you have done for your personal company to survive? I mean, Damilola mentioned some of the things that she had to do to be able to juggle fundraising and still maintain a successful company. But in a very practical manner, what are some things that founders can do right now? A, if possible, to fundraise, but B, keep their companies alive. And you can even speak from a personal journey.
I think one of the biggest ones would be keeping an eye on your operating costs, regardless of what stage your business is at. So if you're at early stage or growth stage, keeping an eye on that operating cost. And by that, what do I mean, right? Operating cost covers anything from your payroll, how many people are on your team, cost of technology, which is such a huge cost for us. It could be the space that you rent. It could be, do you need people in an office or do you need to be remote? Just really making those decisions on a day-to-day to keep your operating costs low. What that means, I think this example is just basic business examples, right? But sometimes when you're running a business and you're so busy with your customers, you're so busy with taking your product live, you might miss keeping an eye on that. And it's very important because what that gives you is a longer runway. So whatever money you have, whether that's investment or whether that's your own capital that you've put into the business or whether that's money that you're making on top of what you're selling, you can stretch that a long way. I think that is huge advice for anyone in this season and moving forward. I would say another one is really understanding your customers' needs and also understanding the market. So Like when we started our company, we had just one product, which was a lending product for small businesses. And the more we engage with our customers, which again is key in whatever you're building, because your customers are the ones using your products, right? Not you, not your tech team, not your investors. You're really understanding what the market wants. We then started creating new products to sort of cover the new needs that people had. So, for example, we had businesses come to tell us that, look, your loan product is great. I can expand. I can do X, Y, Z, but I'm struggling with electricity, for example. I can't run my shop. I can't do this. I can't do that. And then solar financing popped up for us. And so we added that under a bucket of our asset products. This is just one tiny example in terms of expanding or pivoting or really paying close attention to what the needs of your customers are. And if you have the capacity to build something around that. But yeah, just stretch your runway, keep your operating costs low.
She has already mentioned very important points on the operating costs. I know that a huge chunk of that is payroll, which is something that I should pay attention to. I think that a lot of founders now are going back to the basics. A world where people are going back to the business studies that we learned in secondary school of selling selling price minus cost prices cost to profits. Because people didn't know what that meant before, right? Because just go and fundraise and just someone mentioned there's something called fundraising as a service. Now as a type of industry, you're not looking for customers; they're just looking for how to gain investors and raise the next round and raise the next round. Okay, so I don't think that will sell in this market right now. So everybody's going back to their basics. Who are my customers? What's my selling price? What's my cost price? And what is my profits? And how does my profits cover my operating costs? And imagining a world where there will not be further investments, how do we survive? That's really it. How many months do we need, to keep the lights on? What do we need to do to ensure that our revenue will be more than our costs, so that we can have profits to cover our operating costs? That is what we are all doing, at least the funnel that I know about. So creativity, comes from, listening to your customers, thinking of how do I get recurring revenue month on month? How do I get, customers that will pay me? Right now we're segmenting our customers to understand who are those that are going to ensure that we survive. Like, who are our real main customers? How do we cater to them? How do we ensure that we get more from them? It could be, expanding to a place where, you can solve the problem in a very cheaper or less expensive way. So any creative, it could even be through partnerships, where just one partnership that can, open up a lot of streams of revenue for that startup. Those are the creative ways that most founders including ourselves, are looking for how to increase the revenue and ensure we reduce or maintain our costs, ensure that we have enough profits to run the company.
Awesome. I think they've said it all. But one thing that I would just say, if you're running a startup, you need to keep an eye on how fast you ship innovation. That's one thing that we Africans are at an advantage at, because you will convert that dollar to naira, except your operations are in dollar, which is, I don't know, it's not quite advisable. Because one of the things you can do to ship innovation faster, if you have nairalized your operations, aside from AWS, who is the highest employee in every organization, who is the highest earning employee, if you are shipping innovation in naira, I do think that you should keep an eye on shipping innovation fast, because that's what is going to make you retain your title as a startup. Because a startup at the core is a fast growing business. So it's going to require a lot of thinking. It's going to require a lot of brainstorming, but that's the thinking part. That's what stands you out from every normal business. You have to think on how you're going to be shipping innovation fast. If you read the story of Dill, if you read the story, even Twitter, like they will ask you how, because whoever, right, can ship innovation in the market, whoever can attend to this, your market needs and all, whoever does it faster, whoever can cover faster, right, there'll always be an investor for you. So go ahead and optimize your business, right? Especially if you've found market product fit. Go ahead and optimize your business for that market to serve them more and ship more innovations. So yeah, that'll be it.
Okay. So I have one more question, but it's going to be two questions in one. That way you guys can just answer. I know we keep saying that, and it is a reality that funding is scarce right now. But are there any emerging source of capital or other funding alternatives that founders, and specifically female founders, because there's so many of y'all in the room, that you guys can share that maybe might benefit some of the audience? And what are you excited about? I know we're in a crazy market and everybody's kind of, like talking about the challenges, and it's okay. But what are you excited about, getting out of 2023 and moving into 2024 as the startup ecosystem in Africa, grows? Okay. Anybody want to go first for this? It's
All
two
right.
questions.
Okay. So the first one is what are the funding sources? So I think there are lots of databases for angel investors. I'll give you our story. We literally spoke to 2,000 investors for us to close the current round. So it's always going to require.
That's a record.
Right? So it's always going to require the perseverance. I think a lot of people will speak to 1, 2, 3. And I think I'll give this advice to females, right? I think you need to isolate a no. What do I mean by that? A lot of people take it to heart and say things, oh, it's because I'm a woman. If you give yourself that excuse, you won't be able to have that energy. It's a very, very disempowering thinking. You won't have that energy to approach the next person because you're going to knock on a ton of doors. Yeah, I gave you the 3 C's that, create the ideal, but that doesn't mean, right? You will still knock through a lot of doors and you might get a whole lot of no. I'm sure you heard Damilola when she told you that, even though she had raised before, it wasn't her series, the prize round. You're still going to go through the same drilling. I think I was telling Chioma in the room where I said a friend of mine who raised $100 million, right? He came like 3 days later, he was literally pumping himself because you always have to prove yourself at every stage of your startup. You raise 200 million, when you want to raise the next one, you will still need to prove yourself. It doesn't stop. It never stops. There's a unicorn founder in Nigeria, right? That is still proving himself to investors still today. So it's a never-ending journey. It's a marathon. So there are so many databases that you can have access to. There are some guys who sell it on Gumroad. A lot of people do say warm intro. Don't let someone go ahead and box you in with warm intro. I will tell you that 80% of our raise in millions of dollars was done through cold emails. But there's a technique to it, which is why I recommend Aaron Harris on YouTube, YC. He did his stuff on how to get meetings with, and he gave a nice framework. I think if you follow it, you can go ahead and reach more people. So don't get all boxed up or say, I do not have a warm intro and you can't raise. There are databases you can purchase. You can go ahead and, reach out to, you see there's a guy who's selling 9,000, there's another 2,000. Just reach out for your industry. That's that one. And the angels, right? Angels are a lot more, friendlier to get. So like I said, investors are different types. You have the angels, you have the micro VCs, then you have the institutional investors. So understand that each and every one of them have different requirements of you. So understand the investors you're going for. The angels are easier. The micro VCs are a lot more easier. But if you want to talk to institutional investors, that's a whole ball game, right? And for the things I'm excited for, and I think other sources too, you can do debt financing. Yeah, depending on the stage of your business. I don't know if a pre-seed can access that, but depending on the stage of your business, you can go ahead and access debt. But that too drills because on a monthly, you have to know how to call that and do the profit balancing and all that. And so there are Myra, there's grants, right? There are also grants. You can also use AWS credit. If you have the talent, right? You can get people to work with sweat equity, ship innovation. First have market product fit. It's not a fundraising as a service thingy, right? Try as much as possible to know you're solving real problems. Because whoever solves problems, right, they eventually win. If you read the story of OpenAI, dude was literally looking for investors until Netire invested in him. So if you go ahead and solve real problems, right, and you can solve it at scale, definitely you'll get your investor. And for things we're excited about. So spend management we're like the category pioneer of spend management in Africa. We like the fact that it's already gaining momentum. And with the way that Africa is digitizing, we do know that over into next year and beyond, we're going to see a huge migration from manual business spending all the way to digital. And that makes me happy because that's where my business makes money. So thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
So the first one, okay, alternative means of investment. So the first one is still customers, right? Because you can't really guarantee that you will find investors that will give you money. But you can, if you're solving a real problem and you know that customers need your solution, you can almost guarantee that people are willing to pay for the solution, right? So that's number one. Number two is that ensuring that you have traction, so that you don't beg investors, because there are a lot of people that still you hear nice stories on tech about, but you don't know what they've signed, right? You don't know if they have -1% of the company where you don't know. You don't know if they signed off their kidney and liver and their soul. You don't know, right? So just ensure that you are sustainable. You can sustain yourself, where you're not literally begging the investors when you're really need funding. In this climb, honestly, it's not optimized for how to get investors, but still there are investors that are still getting funding. I saw that Norskin just got, I think, 250 million. I'm like, there's money. There's money for us. There's Founders Factory that also raised about 150. There's money. So who are they giving those monies to? So
White men.
it's for Africa. They said Africa. So some people are still getting funded. So if VCs are getting funded, there's hope, right? But honestly, the best thing to do is to optimize for what you can control, because you can't control what the climb will be next year. Maybe 2020, maybe it might be better, or maybe 2025 it might be better. But what you can plan for is that I need to get XYZ customers. We need to hustle to get food on the table. That's really it. Secondly, why we are very optimistic about next year is because the market is still very huge for us. We've literally not scratched the surface. When the fuel subsidy thing happened, we maxed out our supply. We had to go and look for supply. Now we're expanding. We expanded one of our products to about 20 states in Nigeria. I keep telling someone that we can actually IPO in Nigeria. We don't need to even expand to other markets. If and only we pray that our naira, will be, stable. So we don't need to have to, jump from one country to another. But I'm really, really bullish on Nigeria. We're expanding out of Lagos. We're already in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and other cities as well. So I'm very, very excited about what that future will hold for us next year.
I love that.
So for funding sources, I think what I'll just close by saying is really understand where your business is, right? If you're early stage, I really believe in accelerator programs. I know, right to you. I think they are fantastic because yes, you do get a check at the end. It might be small, it might be big, whatever. But what you get in the process really prepares you for how to run your business, right? Really allows you to understand your model, your unit economics, things that you might not know, because not every startup founder was an entrepreneur before or like really understand finance and business. So that's really a really good way to raise capital. Then like she said, there are just lots of lists. You can try the cold or warm intros. And then also depending on your kind of business. So I'm in the finance lending space. And when we started off, we needed to raise debt and equity at the same time. Equity was very straightforward, but debt is a bit more complicated. And if you don't have a finance background, you might get it wrong. You might not understand how to negotiate your rates. Debt can also be very expensive for a startup. You're basically almost giving like 50% away. So what I would say in that stage is have a finance person in your team. I think that is such an important hire for tech companies. We're very focused sometimes on the tech team, and us as founders, we miss the finance guys. They are the ones who will keep an eye on your revenue. You should know that, but they will keep an eye on that revenue, your unit economics, your profit, your spending. Someone is just tracking that so that you always know where your business is at. And then in terms of what I'm excited about, so like I said, Payhippo operates in the lending space, which is a credit space, and is extremely high risk. Some investors love it, some investors hate it. It just depends on where they are. But what I'm excited about is I think that Nigeria still has that potential. One of our biggest concerns is around identity. Who's getting this credit and how can I find them after? Um, we have BVN and we have all these identifiers that have been created. I think that there's still more to do in the market. There's still more around how we connect our identifiers. Who's who in Nigeria? What does that person do? How can I find them? There's so much potential. We've done a lot of partnerships with other startups. So I'm excited about continuing to dig through that and hopefully create a credit economy that works, not just getting people to keep taking loans and destroying their businesses, but really so that they can grow, expand, and it's the growth of small businesses that influence like the growth of the country. So if we can keep them alive, then we've done something great.
Amazing. Can we have one more round of applause for our panel today? All right. Do we have any questions? And the questions have to be quick.
My name is Ayoayeni. So I have a startup that caters to the mental well-being and wellness of women, just supporting moms through motherhood, especially working moms. So I wanted to find out, you mentioned something about when you start your company, you start thinking of adding products. You mentioned something like you added a solar panel or something to, augment. So how do you draw the lines? Because there's so much coming up and you're at this phase and everything looks so enticing. So we hear, oh, we want to support moms. We come up with, okay, maybe a coaching program for moms in the workplace, support organizations to better stabilize, to accommodate the moms, just so we don't want really intelligent moms dropping out of the workforce because they became moms, things like that. And then you hear this other thing and then this other thing. So how do you manage all those raving ideas that are really great at that period?
Yes, ideas will always come into the company and they always will sound very fantastic. I think it's, how would I say this? Always remember your vision of what your company is trying to do, like what you started off with, and then always understand your priorities. So for us, solar came in because we're constantly listening to our customers of what is needed. We have made some mistakes and created products that were not right for in terms of for every customer. So reaching the customers, maybe you had 4 people who were interested and then you spent all that resource. So also understanding how many customers does this new product fit with and what is like the connection with the resources that I'm going to put into it, and then how can I scale it and grow it, and then that will help you understand what to do. So I'll give you a real example, because this year I've learned to be very honest with being an entrepreneur and really sharing some things that worked and didn't. So sometime last year we acquired a microfinance bank, which is perfect, but we did not put into consideration the amount of work that you have to do with the regulator to get that acquired. So we've been trying to complete that process. And in the meantime, we've partnered with banks. What does that mean? We could have partnered with banks from the beginning and saved all that time. So some things sound good, but really like write it out, think about are there partners that I can work with and then still scale and achieve what I'm trying to do with the product before building an entire new product that would just be a cost on you.
All right, thank you. Second question, please.
Hi, my name is Ifoma. I'm co-founder of Senstack, and we simplify logistics for businesses. My question is for Dami because she emphasized something that I firmly believe in, which is like chasing customers. Because I think startups are the customers for VCs. So if we are chasing our own customers, they should be chasing us. But something you had mentioned is transitioning from B to C to B to B. But the common knowledge is that B2B has a longer sales process, right? So how do you shorten that sales process so that you easily and quickly onboard customers who are sustaining your business? And what do you do in that time, like in between? Because something we're really learning is still like maintaining patience through the B2B sales cycle. But what do you do like in that time where it feels a little slow, but then you can see that there's a pathway like ahead?
Okay. Yes, awesome. Very, very smart question. So what I would say, one is to track, if you've done it for 1 year already, you should track your data. So if you had like 2 or 3 people that has been doing the B2B sales, what kind of industry were they focusing on? What size of businesses? At what point, if you have like a sales process, at what point did they drop off? what was the conversion rate? So if, for example, if they were speaking to 200 businesses and only 20 converted in the whole year, you know that your conversion rate is 10%. So then you would then work backwards to say, okay, if our target for next year is 1,000 businesses, where do we find qualified leads of those 1,000 businesses to ensure that we convert 10% of them? Now, if you want to convert 10% of them, if this year, if you took 2 people to convert, to work on 200 businesses, how many people will it take to work on 1,000 businesses to give you? So it's like mathematics. So just look at the data for this year and then optimize for that same. But beyond the mathematics, there might be some bottlenecks from your data analysis to find out that, okay, maybe our pricing has a problem, maybe we have issues with conversion. It's still going to the data to understand how they sell, how they convert. Even us, myself, we're still learning. I just signed up a coach to coach me on B2B sales. So it's a work in progress. I speak to founders that also, they've done this as well, acquired a lot of businesses like Seamless HR, like Paystack, like Flora Wave. All those businesses are successful because of they've hacked that B2B sales strategy. So that's really it.
All right, thank you so much. Please, a round of applause.